All right, let's get right into it. For the first time in 2 whole years, a very fragile, very calculated silence has fallen over Gaza. There's a new, high-stakes peace plan in motion, and we're going to break down exactly what is inside its critical first phase. Just try to imagine that. After 730 straight days of war, the noise that had basically become the soundtrack of life just stopped. This one sentence really captures a moment that, for millions of people, felt absolutely impossible. But that silence comes at a staggering cost. The conflict that kicked off on October 7th, 2023, has reportedly claimed over 67,000 Palestinian lives. That number? Well, it's the grim and necessary backdrop for everything we're about to discuss. So what is this fragile peace actually built on? Well, it's the first stage of a big framework, officially called the 20-point Gaza Peace Plan. And make no mistake, this isn't just another temporary pause. It is a really structured, high-pressure attempt to pull everyone back from the brink. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, the mechanics of it all. Phase 1 is designed to last for exactly 42 days. That's 6 weeks. You can think of it like pulling the emergency brake on a runaway train. The goal is to stop the immediate disaster while everyone tries to figure out what on earth to do next. And it really all boils down to 3 critical things that have to happen at the same time. Okay, first up, the troop movements. Israeli forces are pulling back from really densely populated areas like Gaza City, and this is a really crucial point, this is not a full withdrawal, not even close. Israel will still control about 53% of Gaza, including strategic spots like the Netzarim corridor, which basically cuts the territory in half. Still, the reopening of Al-Rashid Street, the main coastal road, that's a huge deal. It allows displaced people to finally start the journey home. Next, we get to the human heart of this deal. Hamas is set to release around 20 surviving Israeli hostages, and in return, Israel will free 1,950 Palestinians. That's 250 people who were in prison long-term, plus another 1,700 who were detained during the war. This is, without a doubt, the most delicate and emotionally charged part of the whole plan. You've got families on both sides just waiting in agony. And the third pillar? Well, it's all about survival. The deal mandates that 600 humanitarian aid trucks have to enter Gaza every single day. And let's be clear, this number isn't random. It's a calculated figure meant to start reversing a catastrophic collapse of, well, life itself. Now, this chart really puts it all into perspective. Before the war, Gaza needed about 500 trucks a day just to keep things running. During the war, that number dropped to an average of just 100. So this new goal of 600, it's not just about getting back to normal, it's about trying to make up for 2 years of extreme deprivation in a place where pretty much everything has been destroyed. But just getting those trucks inside is a monumental challenge. An aid worker described the process perfectly with this quote: "Every single truck still has to be inspected at the border, which creates this massive bottleneck. It just goes to show you the huge logistical hurdles that are still in place, even when you have a political agreement." So, okay, those are the mechanics of the deal. But what does the ceasefire actually look and feel like for the people on the ground? Well, this is where hope collides head-on with the hard reality of rubble. As tens of thousands of Palestinians travel north, hoping to finally return home, this is the reality they're met with. The UN estimates that a staggering 92% of all residential buildings in northern Gaza are either damaged or completely destroyed. Just let that number sink in for a second. It's a level of destruction that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. And behind that statistic are countless stories just like this one. This quote from a Palestinian who returned home, it just captures the shock and the despair of finding not just your house gone, but your entire neighborhood just erased, exterminated. What a devastating word. So for so many, the journey home doesn't end in a house. It ends with pitching a tent on the pile of debris that used to be their life. This is the brutal paradox of Phase 1, this incredible relief of peace, mixed with the gut-wrenching trauma of losing everything. And beyond the physical destruction, there is a hidden epidemic. According to UN officials, basically 100% of children in Gaza are now showing signs of severe psychological distress. This is not a problem that aid trucks can fix. It is a generational wound that is going to take decades, if not longer, to even begin to heal. Which, of course, brings us to the biggest question of all. Can this possibly last? History is just littered with failed ceasefires in Gaza, including one that fell apart just 9 months ago. So let's look at the arguments. For and against. Okay, so on the one hand, the optimists are pointing to President Trump's direct involvement, the presence of U.S. troops on the ground to monitor things, and just sheer exhaustion on both sides. But the pessimists, well, they have a pretty strong case too. Hamas has not agreed to disarm. The massive question of who's going to govern Gaza is completely unresolved, and the level of trust between the two sides, it's basically zero. So what are the actual odds here? Well, geopolitical analysts are putting the probability of any kind of long-term success at around 30 to 40%. Now, that might sound really low, right? But it's actually higher than for any previous attempt. It's a sign that the sheer scale of this catastrophe might have finally changed the political game. The fate of this whole thing is really going to be decided in the next few weeks. The first hostage releases are that critical early test. After that, the focus shifts to keeping that aid flowing and finishing the exchanges. But the real moment of truth? That comes in weeks 5 and 6, when the much harder negotiations for Phase 2 have to begin. So that's the profound question that's just hanging over everything. After 730 days of war and more than 67,000 lives lost, is this 42-day pause the start of something genuinely new? Or is it just a brief, agonizing intermission in a conflict that feels doomed to repeat itself? For now, all any of us can do is watch and wait.